Alexandria last night.
Okay, I'd like to call the meeting to order. Please stand for the pledge. Pledge allegiance to the flag
of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
I'll do a roll call real quick. Trustee Fulmer?
Here.
Trustee Miller? Here. Trustee Strauss? Here. Trustee Caputo?
Here.
And Mayor Putnam here. Okay. Resolution 1 we're gonna deal with here first. Resolution 1 is public hearing for community development grant funding for 2025. Did we read this last time?
We did.
This is to submit for a grant for us to help pay for, was it the $2 million grant?
Yep.
And we're just given permission for them to go ahead and pay for it, right? Is that what the, whereas the Village of Alex Bay intends to submit an application to New York State Office of Homes and Community Renewal for funding under the Community Development Block Grant, CDBG program for the 2025 program year end. Whereas the state of New York has announced that up to $24.2 million is available through the 2025 CDBG program, with up to $20 million specifically available for public infrastructure projects. And whereas the Village of Alex Bay is considering submitting an application for up to $2 million in CDBG funds to support the additional support for funding of water infrastructure project. Whereas part of the application process, the village must hold a public hearing to gather input from the citizens, public agencies, and other stakeholders on the proposed CDBG application, community needs, and CDBG priorities. Now therefore be it resolved, the village board hereby schedules a public hearing to be held July 8th at the regular village board meeting to receive public comments. Propose, is that right? July, it should be today's date, correct?
Today's date, yep.
June 10th, that's the 10th? 9th?
Yep.
10th. Be further resolved that the village clerk is directed to publish notice in said public hearing in accordance with applicable laws and regulations. Basically what this boils down to is we applied for it last year. If anybody's aware, we went around and did a survey for income and we qualified for it. We didn't get it last year, so we're applying again for it. And basically that's what and that's for the infrastructure for the new do water plant and the water tower.
Correct, Gregor?
Yeah,
Anything
that's
else?
correct. It's, application's due the end of July,
Okay.
so your public hearing is set for,
I'll make a motion to open the public hearing. I'll second.
Any comments from anybody that they'd like to make on it?
Did you say the date is July 8th?
That,
No.
this is the date today. It should have been June 10th. This is
For the hearing?
the public hearing right now.
so I just had a question, Mike, was that resolution to set the public hearing for the next meeting? I know G&G helped
on
with that,
July.
but I wonder,
I thought didn't we advertise this before?
I don't think so.
Okay, so that's July 8th,
This
right?
is that your next board meeting? I think it is.
Yes.
That lines up with
Yeah,
there
we didn't.
So this sets the hearing, the public
For-
hearing?
for July 8th.
Okay, that's where that comes from.
Can you send out some information as to what we're gonna discuss at this meeting on July 8th?
The easier thing to be was if you go online, New York State, and look up CDBG grant. And you'll see all kinds of information there, and we're using it, to go towards our water infrastructure project.
I would think that the village ought to have their own description of what you're gonna do with the money. Is it on that New York State grant?
The money's gonna be used for to correct our water problems, our water plant and our infrastructure.
I just would like to know what you're talking about. It ought to be on the village website, what you're gonna do with it.
She just said it was on the website.
It's
No,
on
she
New
said it
York
was on
State.
New York State.
We can get something on the village website.
That's what I would look.
You haven't heard about our water infrastructure project that we started like 2 years ago and already have 13 million for?
The last few meetings I've been hearing stuff, but I've never seen a written word about it not one word written,
Okay,
and I'd like to read.
So, we're gonna publish a public hearing, and we need a motion to have the public hearing?
Yeah. I'll rescind what I just said and make a motion that we have the public hearing on July 10th,
By 8.
July 8th, at 5:15.
5:15.
So we weren't late tonight. Everybody else was just early.
I'll second the
Okay,
motion.
so this is a, individual vote, would it,
No,
no?
not until after the next meeting.
Next meeting? Okay. So, all in favor?
Aye.
Okay, motion carried. Takes care of that. All right, let's open it up here for some public comments. Kathy, you wanna go first?
Sure. I'm here, Kathy Garlock, on behalf of the Chamber of Commerce. I didn't realize that, a couple of people had come forward today, but, our fireworks are $8,500 for the 4th of July. And we are wondering if we could get participation. We're going to ask the village and the town. We're hitting, for all the events that we do, we're hitting up our liquor people pretty heavy, our, food vendors and that, and we're trying to see if we can get any participation from the village and the town. They're $8,500, they've gone up, you guys, we've priced them, we're trying to keep it down, but with everything going up, that we would appreciate if we could get some help. Anything would be appreciated.
Discussion?
I'm for it.
Make a motion?
I'd like to make a motion that we give $1,500 to the chamber toward 4th of July fireworks.
I wanna add to that motion. I expect the mess cleaned up. The last few times I had fireworks, our DPW had to go down there, and there was papers and stuff left over the fireworks. I'm concerned, all it takes is one that didn't go off, and them guys don't handle that stuff all the time. If I go down there the day after and it's not cleaned up, it'll be the last time,
On casino?
but
Yes.
Are they doing it on casino or at both?
Doing it on, we do it for the 4th of July, Mike, on Boat Castle.
all right, but the last time they did it off the
Right,
casino,
right.
it was nothing but a mess down there.
And I will relay that for sure, because we have another one with the, parade. Actually, I'm doing the fundraising for that. You guys, I'm selling balls. We'd like to talk to you guys about doing a Christmas tree downtown and having a big tree cut and put up, and then having balls, so we sell them $100 a ball, and, doing fireworks at the end of the parade. I don't know if it does come forward at all, but, we were trying to have another one where we could do additional fireworks.
Okay. Did we get a second on your motion then?
Not yet.
I'll second.
All in favor, 1,500?
Aye.
All right, there you go.
I thank you, Michael.
You're welcome.
Thank you, Lori. Thank you, we appreciate it.
And no, we haven't heard anything about the Christmas tree yet.
You didn't come in.
I did briefly. So, any other public comments that people like to speak about? Sam?
Public concern? Oh, yeah, thank you. First, I'd like to say thank you very much to the board and to this gentleman right here for a job well done at the water tower site. It's never looked like that in 30 years I've been here. This is the first guy that's ever treated me with any respect as a taxpayer and as a citizen, and I just wanted to thank you personally. Those guys worked hard, they were there 2 days, and, it looks like it. It really added a lot of value, so I appreciate it. I also wanted to ask you if there was any plans to remove that old fire alarm with the boxes falling off, the rotten wood. It does nothing, it has nothing to do with the fire department, it's just a relic. And I'd like to see it removed, and a little, just a small piece of enhancement for our Rockwell Street neighborhood. It needs it.
So if I may, so I already looked at it, there has to still be the pole standing there. There is still telecommunications that go to the water tower to that little piece, but the steel structure and the boxes coming out of there, I haven't had a chance to get back up there and take that, but the phone wires that come in,
They don't go to the tower.
yes, there's still telecommunications that go to the tower through phone lines, so, that is coming out of there, though, again, Sam, I haven't had a chance to get up there and get that out there, but that is still on the list, so.
All right,
It
no,
is
I
coming out
realize
there.
that, you know,
So-
you're short of me, all of lots to do, that's why I appreciate.
Yeah, but yes, absolutely.
what happened there. So thank you.
You're welcome.
Do they have any regulations that, make it so that I can't drill a well?
Yes.
Is it in the law or something?
It's
I don't know.
it's in our law book, there's a set amount of footage. If you're not within a certain footage for water or sewer, you can do sewer too, you can do a septic. It's in the blue book here, the one that you would,
Yeah, the code is also.
Oh, we can get it for you.
Yeah, I mean,
It's a certain distance, I can't remember exactly what the footage is, but we've had it where people went in and put a septic in, like, up on the end, Highland Avenue, house at the end. He's not close enough to the sewer, so he does have a septic.
Well, I'm not, happy with the sewer or the water at this point. I just wondered if I could water my, flowers and my lawn without going through pumping and chemical addition and all those extra things that come out of the system. I mean, it's just the lawn. So I wondered if I could drill a well, to do my garden.
I thought it was, you could drill a well, but you still, say you were gonna drill a well and not use the service that the village provides,
No, that's
but
not
you
my-
still have to pay for the service, you know what I mean? Even if you
That's all.
didn't use it because you're
You
hooked.
can do a well in the village.
I don't think you can do it well if you have we can pull it out of the book and get it emailed to you.
Appreciate that. I'm pretty familiar with that book, but I wasn't able to ascertain.
Maybe just sewer, I was thinking of sewer and water, I thought there was a certain footage in there.
Okay.
We can look it up. See what's in it.
Okay, I just wondered, does the zoning department, is it under the guidance of the board of directors in Alexandria Bay, or is it under the guidance of New York State?
For
Yeah, for what?
For rules?
anything?
Yeah. I mean, if I had a complaint about a zoning issue, would I come to you, or would I go to New York State? Does he work for you, or do you work for him? My basic question.
Zoning, you would come here first. To the
So
board.
if I have a problem with zoning, I would come to the board?
What's your problem?
No, I think Jim, you could answer this, I think. Didn't we make it separate, so zoning, I thought,
So zoning and codes are two different things. So zoning exists by operation of the state constitution and state law, and the state legislature, they empower the board of trustees in the village to adopt zoning. Once you adopt zoning, there's a process that's followed, and it's in the village law, and then you have your zoning regulations. But when you deal with questions of, I hear you mention the state, separate and distinct from land use regulations, New York State codified in the executive law what we call building codes. There's a number of different state codes for that. Those are typically administered by the county. So if you go to use your property, you use the property to deal with zoning here in the village. If you develop the property, structure as far as the design, the placement, all of it, that's regulated by the state, and the county administers and enforces that here in the local village.
So, the local zoning, official does not make those decisions.
A local zoning enforcement officer is empowered by the village board to administer and enforce local zoning laws. And they do that under the framework of what the state authorizes, and that will also sometimes require the use of the zoning board of appeals, and sometimes will require the use of your planning board.
So if I have a controversy with the zoning officer, and I want to I want to apply for a different ruling, where do I go?
Well, so one of the things that the zoning board of appeals does is if there's a question of interpretation, depending what it is, it's an appeal process to the zoning board of appeals. So again, the zoning enforcement officer, that person has got the training, the experience, they've got the qualifications to administer and enforce zoning. A relief valve from some of those determinations rendered by the zoning officer goes to the zoning board of appeals.
Okay. Who's the zoning board of appeals? Is that here in town? Or is that the county?
No, if a village adopts zoning regulations, then they're required to also have a zoning board of appeals. And the zoning board of appeals, that exists within the framework of the village itself.
So I could find that on the website, on your website?
I would
who's
assume.
The zoning board
Yes,
of appeals?
it's on the website, who the zoning
Okay.
board members
All
are.
right, fair enough, thank you.
And real quick with that, the zoning board of appeals, you're gonna have, I think the village has 5 ZBA members, and their authority, again, from the state down to the local zoning will indicate what they can and can't do.
Yeah, it's different than the planning board.
It is, yes.
Thank you. I also had, can anyone explain to me why we changed the lawn maintenance program in Alexandria Bay from taking care of your property to 20 feet from the curb? Is there a reason? Can somebody please just tell me why we would go backwards?
I think that's been in effect for a while, I don't know when.
No, this is new.
When was that?
The old law is still on your website, but according to the zoning officer, that's not the case. That website, and I wrote a letter asking it to be put on the website, but it hasn't been. Previously, a side yard on a corner lot, and those were included in lawn maintenance and care. But according to the zoning officer now, we do not have that. It's 20 feet from the curb, no side yard, no nothing. And I just wondered why we would go backwards. I'm not singling anyone out, I'm just asking why.
Did we
yeah.
change that?
I was
It
gonna say,
wasn't-
Ron, weren't you very, involved when Russ, when they did that, new ordinances?
Not for property maintenance, no. I think that's, a big part of that's through the state. The state has a property maintenance code.
Well, so New York State has a property maintenance code, that's one of the building codes administered through the county. What the village has, though, with your zoning, you also have a provision dealing with grass and rubbish and brush, as I recall. Now, what happens is this in the village, you had a provision on the books dealing with trimming grass and brush. Problems really are that just because something was on the books didn't make it valid. What the village board did a couple of years ago, as I recall, was you streamlined it to make it enforceable and also to make sure that the time, effort, and expense that the village might undertake would be recoverable. So, when you have a person owns property, the old timers used to say that a man's home was his castle, and if they had the property and this guy wanted to let the brush grow up and the next door wanted to make it like a golf course, you couldn't impact somebody. What villages have the ability is for the public health and safety, if on property, if you've got a situation that poses a danger or risk to public health and safety, tall grass or brush, noxious plants, you can tackle that issue with your code provision. But the key is, we can't get involved too much with the aesthetics. It's only for public safety, and the general rule, the safety valve pretty much is about 20 feet back, 25 feet from the sidewalk. That's where if men, women, or children are walking or riding the bikes or something, within that 20-25 foot window, that's a safe area where you can take care of everything. If you try to go too far back, the next thing you know is you're not really dealing with public safety, you're dealing more with aesthetics. So what you have on your books typically deals with a distance, and then it also deals with what kind of notice we provide the person when you take care of it. And what this board did for efficiency's sake was to make sure that, number one, if a problem came about, you could give notice and tackle the issue, as I recall, within 48 hours or 3 days?
3 days.
3 days notice, and then, because it's administratively burdensome, so you wouldn't have to get bogged down in all the accounting, you came up with a set charge that was going to be imposed on the property owner, just for public health and safety. We cut it back, they would pay that amount, and if they didn't pay it, then it would get added to their taxes as well. So you're balancing public safety against the rights of the individual property owner. That's kind of where that flexibility comes into play.
So it's not like a gated community where you have rules.
You're exactly right.
That's-
Yeah, you're exactly right. If you have a gated community or deed restrictions, all of a sudden persons in that homeowners association, they can have restrictions about what you've got to do with your lawns, but we don't have that authority. As a legislative body, your powers are limited by what the state says you can do. So you're balancing that public safety against the rights of the individual property owner. So it's that fine line you're trying to walk.
How does that work in terms of, like, I don't know where they're coming from, but we got lots of skunks over there recently. Now, is varmints and this kind of thing, the way I read the law is they try to minimize the overgrowth to keep out varmints and to keep out, these critters. And
That's part of
the
it.
spirit of the law, or no?
That's a part of it. The problem is now when and I dealt with this not with this village, but with a different community. The problem is when you deal with skunks, all of a sudden, the state doesn't give that power to the municipalities. The state DEC is the entity that actually regulates it, and not throwing stones at them. They've got so many responsibilities, but I've heard that the state doesn't really tackle the skunk problem too much. But it's a state issue. You don't have really any control over that, unfortunately.
How about, I read in there also that it's illegal to have putrefied flesh on your property.
Yeah, what that gets down to again is garbage and rubbish. If all of a sudden, if somebody collects and they've got rotting garbage, that's where it can pose a health risk, and we take care of it.
Rotting flesh is what I'm talking about.
It falls within the definition of rotting. I think it's putrescible matter or something is classified, but it can be tackled.
See, I have a neighbor who traps, local squirrels or whatever happens to get in his trap, and they hang there and bounce off the railing until they either rip their leg off and they go away, or they die hanging there, and then they hang there for days and days, and it stinks, and it's ugly, and I think it's wrong that you should be able to do this. I also believe that I'm not entitled to proper fire protection. If there was a fire at my house, I live on a steep hill on one side and Steve Snyder on the other side, you couldn't go through that yard with a bulldozer. They have no way to get fire equipment in there, as far as I'm concerned. So I'm just asking, do I have any rights here or not? Does anybody agree that these could be a problem, or am I just being a pain in the ass?
No, I mean, your point, real quick, I mean, it does exist in New York State. It's not gonna be statutory. The courts, when they rule on things, they establish what's known as the common law, and when a municipality doesn't have powers, a lot of times you'll find that private citizens do. And what you might be faced with is what's known as a private nuisance. And New York State, by virtue of the common law with courts, if a neighbor's engaging in certain activities that are objectionable to you, you have the ability, potentially, to bring a claim against that neighbor in the local Supreme Court for a private nuisance to abate that nuisance. It's only when the activity gets to be egregious and affects a large number of neighbors that it becomes a public nuisance where a village can tackle it sometimes through the Supreme Court. So there again, unfortunately, it's a balancing act, but it sounds like what you've got is a private nuisance type scenario. So the village, that particular scenario, you probably have little authority on.
Okay. So, really, the law written in the codified version is just a paper tiger. Because, it's not just a paper tiger, it would be if the zoning personnel would have an interest to go forward and look into it, but I was told that that's not the case.
Why don't you talk to the county?
I have talked to the county. But if a zoning officer comes forward to the county and feels like there's a legitimate problem, they might take a little more concern. Me, they just blew me off like a pair of dirty socks. I've written them. I've explained my story. So, that's why I came here, just to see what you're thinking. So I'll consider the fact that you gave me a fairly long dissertation on the law, which in essence came down to I can take them to the civil court. Did I read that right?
No, that last concern that you raised is probably gonna be a common law issue, and that's gonna be a private nuisance. That's gonna be something that the village board doesn't have jurisdiction over.
Is the varmint control in the public areas, is that my problem?
That's gonna be the state DEC gets involved
So
with that.
that has nothing to do with, the board?
Yeah.
Okay, fair enough, appreciate it. I had another question. Does the golf course have a property assessment? Has that property ever been assessed?
Yes,
I was just gonna say.
I was looking at him.
Yeah.
yes, it has.
It has? Is
It
that,
always has.
how do I find that? What would I actually look for?
Under the village properties.
Yeah.
All village properties are assessed, every property is assessed.
Okay. Just wondered, I'll go look that up, because I was curious whether they have an assessment. Because my concern is the golf course, because, you know, this man doesn't have enough, manpower to take care of the neighborhoods and all of the other responsibilities he has. But yet we have a golf course that loses $40,000 a year, and it's all weed whacked and cut and beautiful. What's up? It just seems so common sense to me. Anyway, I thank you for the answer, Shooky. I will look it up on my own. I also have a question about, does the hospital, medical center, Monticello building, waterfront property, and parking lot pay taxes?
Again? Excuse me, home again?
Would be, I'm saying the hospital, the medical center, the Monticello property, the waterfront property, and the parking lot.
No,
They don't pay taxes.
they're exempt.
So I would really think the board might want to look into all of these non-taxable things in today's market, today's cost for everything. Why? I mean, they've got a huge footprint of downtown. And all the property taxes are being shifted to the people who live here.
Yeah, the real property tax law, section 300, all real properties must be assessed unless there's a specific exemption for it. In Article 4 of the real property tax law, so Article 3, even the golf course is assessed, but Article 4, you're gonna find there's a lot of different classifications for exemptions. And yeah, I'll call it a hospital use. Yeah, for the most part, if that's the principal use of it, it gets statutory an exemption. Now, the reality with that is there again, the village board, you don't have any control on that. I mean, you're the legislative body, but New York State, they tie your hands an awful lot. And you'll run into that in villages, and you'll see that in cities too, that the not-for-profits are concentrated where the people live. And so, yeah, hospital property, as I'm just defining it, is tax exempt under the Article 4 of the real property tax.
So the only mechanism we have to counteract that is through zoning. We can say, no.
No, you can't. So what counteracted that somewhat was, in the tax law and the county law, in Jefferson County, the city of Watertown is entitled to a share of sales tax. And it can preempt the sales tax unless there's a deal struck with Jefferson County. What the city of Watertown did years ago was they did enter into a tax agreement with Jefferson County, where Jefferson County cannot keep the sales tax other than the portion that goes to the state, and the city required by contract the county to share the sales tax with the towns and the villages. The basis for that was to recognize that in the city and in villages, there are not-for-profits that really do use a lot of the community services, but they don't pay real property tax. So theoretically, when the village gets a small amount of sales tax, a portion of that was intended to make up for the fact that you have your churches here, you have your school here, you have your hospital here. You know, you have that tax exempt property, but you get a little bit of the sales tax. But the theory, I think, behind it is that because you've got those types of property owners here, hospitals, schools, golf courses, people want to move into your community and have their businesses here and have their homes here. It's supposed to be a balancing act, whether that works real well or not, but unfortunately, again, your hands are tied to a lot of that.
Well, I appreciate your answer, because it has, just has troubled me forever. Essentially, we have no say over what comes into the community, period, in terms of, tax exempt organizations.
Yeah, if an entity comes in that's eligible for the exemption under Article 4 of the real property tax law, they'll apply for the necessary exemption, the assessor reviews it, and if they're qualified, then they get the exemption. And yeah, the local citizenry don't have the authority to stop it in some fashion.
So the boards that sold this property to these entities are really the people that are at blame. Because if we didn't sell, the waterfront property or the parking lot or whatever, then they wouldn't be there. We would still have it on the tax rolls, or we'd have parking spaces for our guests.
It's not the village that owned those properties. It was private citizens. It's no different than Tilt buying up all the land that they're buying up. It's private citizens, and then you have these non-for-profits that come in that are receiving state grants, state funding, that have a lot of money, that pay a property owner a hefty amount to get that piece of land. And if you're offered $1 million on a piece of land that's worth $250,000, guess what? You're gonna sell it, because it's good for your pocket, and it doesn't matter about everybody else's in the area. So it's not that the village or the town has sold the property to these guys. The Monticello was owned by a private individual who sold it. And then, and most of the time when somebody's in the market to sell something, they're just looking for the person who's gonna pay the most.
So we're just prostitutes, basically. Okay, thank you. I do have one other, or a couple more concerns, and I won't take any more time. I know everybody's frustrated with me.
Pretty much. Make it quick.
Huh?
Make it quick, Sam.
Okay.
Usually you're only allowed 1 or 2 questions, and you're kind of stretching it here a little bit, but go ahead.
This isn't public concern?
No, go ahead.
Go ahead.
Does anybody, can anybody tell me about the rules of condemnation for unsafe properties? Like abandoned buildings, I had across the street from my house. The place leans at about 15 degrees. The roof is falling in. There's nothing but animals hanging around. The driveway's full of weeds all the time. The building is unsafe. The windows are broken. The roof is gone. Who is in charge of condemnation? You or the state?
Well, two things. So you mentioned the property maintenance code. So that's state code, and the county, they do administer and enforce the state building codes, so they deal with property maintenance. The unfortunate reality has been that sometimes the county stretches itself so thin, they don't have the personnel to tackle the issues.
So
What this village board did was, and you followed the law with it, because of the village law, and then because of some case law that developed about 2 years ago, the village board did adopt an unsafe building and structures law, because it could now do so, that can tackle some of those problems. But there's a lot of twists and turns in the process, so that they adopted the legislation that would do it. And the beauty of what this village board did was, as long as they follow the guidance with the village engineer and the enforcement officer, they can tackle certain problems, and they can then recover the cost of the demolition, including the administrative costs, if not from the property owner, then from the county. So this board did have a unique opportunity. They did adopt the legislation to tackle it, but now to do that, what would happen is if a citizen has a concern, you bring that concern to the village's enforcement officer, who then can trigger the investigation.
That's what I was looking for.
Yep.
So I would have to see the zoning official
It's-
in order to get
it's-
this started.
I mean, Mr. Schimmel is the zoning officer, he's also the enforcement officer for unsafe buildings and structures. But yeah, you get the information to him, and then he fits it in, he investigates the matter, works with the village engineer, and if there are issues, it proceeds to the village board, then the village board does get involved in those processes.
Right.
But it's fact dependent.
Well, Mr. Schimmel, I did speak to him about it, and his response to me was, I said, it sounds like you don't really wanna do this, and he said, that sounds about right. So, if he doesn't wanna do it, it's dead in the water. That's what I heard. So, okay, that's fine. I have one final one, and then I'll be gone. Has anybody ever read the Town of Alexandria Bay Trash and Junk Law? It's very good. I'll just leave a copy here in case anybody wants to read it. But it's excellent. And thank you very much. I apologize to all of you.
Sam, is there a point you wanna make with that?
I just wanted to make it available if somebody wanted to read it.
Okay,
Thank you.
all right. Thanks, Sam.
Yep, thank you.
Any more public comments or concerns?
Super quick question. I saw in the news that, the beautification project, got $7 million. Is the, the news didn't give any information on what it was for. Does the, village, website show what it?
You mean the New York Forward that we got?
Yeah.
That was
That-
$4.5 million.
That was $4.5 million.
4.5?
Yeah.
Okay.
It's on the village website, and it's on, if you go to the state website, New York Forward, it's on the state website too, a description of what is going to be done with that money.
What, it got approved?
Mm-hmm.
I got
Okay,
approved.
that was just my question, so I
It's
I
for
can look on the
new
village
restrooms
website.
on the town dock, and there's a few businesses, I don't know, what, 3 or 4 that got granted money.
Great.
Uh,
I thought the presentation here was quite good.
No, it was a tough decision, the state made the final decision on a lot of that. The state made the final decision on a lot of that,
Yeah.
okay? Anybody else?
That's it.
I have a question about crosswalks and crosswalks not being marked. The one by the rink, you can hardly see anymore. Lots of kids cross that every single day. The one at my corner probably needs to be touched up, I don't know if it's been done this year, at the corner of Walton and Cornwall. That rink is being utilized a lot, by a lot of kids, a lot of adults. There are bicycles, the kids ride the bicycles to the rink. So I think that one for sure needs to be repainted, just to let people know it's there, in case something happens. They can come back and say, well, I didn't see any crosswalk, it's all black.
We're working on it, right, Jared, getting them painted?
Absolutely.
We got the
Probably back out before the end of this week if the rain holds out.
We're working on getting everything painted, we just haven't got to the outside streets, but they will get painted.
Well, it seems like that would be a priority with the kids going across there. I mean, I live right next to that parking lot, and I have seen people blow their horn at kids crossing there. Because it's not, I mean, you have the signs, but the crosswalk isn't visible really, especially at how fast they go down the street.
Which brings up another issue. The speeding on Catherine Cornwall, Walton, and Anthony Street. The speeding, as you know, Mike, because you live there, the speed is incredible. It's a mess. And they slowed down when we did the speed bumps. That worked. And they're not illegal or anything like that. Can we put them back?
Jim?
Okay, so.
It's not illegal. It's not illegal.
No,
We know that.
no. Yeah, so the DOT has regulations and they have what's known as a highway design feature, and so we have speed bumps or speed humps, they can be installed. You have discretion, it really, the power is vested in our superintendent, in the exercise of his discretion. He's got the unique training, the experience to recognize that, and there are some instances where, yes, they can be installed on, but it's gotta be a village-owned street, cannot be a county or a state
Right,
road.
this is village.
They can be installed. I hear mixed stories about the value of them. I mean, sometimes they work, sometimes I hear the complaint is that, I don't know.
Come and sit on my porch
Kids,
for a while.
kids will use it to try to, as a ramp, to try to launch, or they'll drive around them in people's lawns, but they can be installed, you've got discretion. Of course, the kicker is there, it's a design feature, they've gotta come out certainly when the weather requires it, you know, you can't have it in place in the wintertime.
But it's a nightmare in this time of the year, and of course, we have all the big food trucks going by, zipping right down the street, and, you know, all of those kinds of things, and what?
Well, we are reducing the speeds, a lot of them streets are supposed to get in speed limit signs to 25. I know it's not where you want it to be, it should be more like 15 or 20.
Exactly, be.
As soon as they,
There's a signs made right now.
The signs are getting made right
Doesn't
now.
matter, them signs aren't gonna slow.
They ain't gonna slow them down.
Why did-
Who's gonna enforce it?
Yeah, that's the
Well-
next step.
we're working on that.
Yeah, I heard that last year, we're working on it, still not done.
I've talked to every person that lives on Catherine Avenue. We have 4 or 5 young families, Kathy's gone, her son lives there with his wife and their 2.5 kids. She's very concerned. Another couple up the street has 2 small children, they're very concerned. And then, a third family that has very small children, they're all questioning whether they should live in the village or not. They're all questioning whether they've made mistakes if they've moved into the village. They're very scared for their children's health.
Yeah, 'cause it's not a little bit, it's a
Our seniors are
massive.
here tonight too, most of us. We're all very concerned about it. Nothing has happened yet in our neighborhood. Yet. We're all a little on edge about it every time a car goes flying down through there. And I'm gonna pick on you because we can all tell when the village is done for the day because every one of them goes flying down the street. It's like, really? You know, it's gotten to that point. But
I
they
scream
do-
from my porch at them.
We're concerned that nothing has happened yet. Whether school children, adults, takes me a little while sometimes to get across the street. A couple of other people said it takes them a little while to get across the street. We're just all sitting on pins and needles over there. And there's a lot of kid traffic over there.
Yeah.
And it's just scary.
I wanna tell you a story that happened the other day, and I have it on, part of it on a ring camera. I was getting ready to go to work in the morning, 9:30, wasn't early, it was school time. And I see this little kid coming around the corner of Walton, coming around to my, not the other side of the street from me, running with this dog. The kid was probably 3, maybe 4. And I thought, well, I'll wait and see if the parent or whoever's taking care of him comes around the corner to follow him. Nobody came with the kid. The kid was out by herself with a dog, crossed Cornwall Street, just bolted out into the road, dog followed her. Then she crossed back over to the other side, nobody around, no parent, no guardian, no nothing, just a little kid with a dog. Now, what if some jerk was going 35 miles an hour up that street when that kid bolted out in front of the road? No, it's the parent's fault for not keeping track of the kid, I get that. But these are things that can happen when you're walking with your kid. They're going too fast. It's crazy. Finally, the father did come around and get her back in the car and take her home. But she came from High Street. I followed him to see where he lived. Gladys Crafton's right here. And she came from High Street with no supervision. She crossed Walton Street, and she crossed Cornwall, and she crossed back over. Didn't look, she was 3, 4 maybe. Those are the kinds of things we're concerned with.
I know, I hear them go down the street all the time.
I know.
I don't remember, we had crosswalks, the speed bumps on Catherine Cornwall, why did we have to take them up?
The law showed, if we had that law that we got, it showed we had to have room, so if somebody hit one and they bumped and went to the side, there was room between there and the sidewalk. Was that not what it was?
There are restrictions on it.
There's restrictions on it, so there wasn't enough room
That's
for a
okay.
car. If they tried to sneak around the bump and hit the bump and it threw them over the curb, could they end up on the side? I can't remember what the footage was, but that's what the law was, and that was the reason for Catherine Cornwall. The thing of it is, in as many villages as you guys have been in, my street's
Your
as long as
street.
you're, okay? But if we put speed bumps on every street in Alex Bay, you're not gonna have anybody here. You ain't gotta worry about it, because they're not gonna drive over speed bumps all day. Not on every street in Alex Bay, because you're gonna have to do every street.
Well, they don't have to go.
Not just one
They
street.
don't have to go down the street, son, tell them to go to the main drag.
You will
Why don't
have to
they go
do
around?
every street in Alex Bay with speed bumps. if
And
you
what
go
happened
on.
with the speed bumps, they went to Bolton Avenue.
That's what they did.
Well,
And they
all
made
the
it twice
traffic
as
on
fast.
Bolton Avenue.
Twice as fast.
We were
But I'm
here.
just saying, it's, to be fair, to be to everybody, it's the same as, we got a playground down there. We got as many kids as anybody else playing in the street down there. And they come from those condos down there, which I'll say it, the condos at the end of the street. I've chased them, I've been in their driveway in the last couple of weeks. And, you know, I mean, we could put speed bumps everywhere, that's still not gonna do anything but just tick people off. And in between your speed bumps, if they're far enough apart, let me tell you, it's gonna be a race strip from speed bump to speed bump. Cause you're just gonna
speed
take.
bumps aren't gonna do it, what the hell are the signs gonna do?
Right.
So.
Yeah.
I'm not saying the signs.
I'm not, right, I know what
We're
you're
not
saying, Chuck.
In other words, you're saying nothing's gonna be done other than we're gonna post signs.
How about if we plant a
That's
cop?
ridiculous.
I'm saying you can put,
Somewhere.
but if you're gonna put
Ridiculous.
signs, if you're gonna put speed bumps, all I'm
And
saying
have
is
'em
they got
right
down
there.
every street.
Have
Not
them
just
right
one
It's not
street,
mandated yet.
every street. Every street,
Bull
there.
crap.
Well, if you got them on yours, I want them on mine. And he wants them on his,
Then why
I
don't
want
put 'em
them
on there?
You know, this Ford, and this is beating a dead horse, because this has been going on for a
Yeah.
while, but this has come up before too, that if you start, we got a police force, we're paying them. We're
We don't
paying
have
them,
a
and
police
every
force.
time, Mike, that you do a police report, there's not much going on.
Right.
You know, you hit these people in the
Yeah, I agree
wallet.
with you,
Yeah.
the speed limit
That-
signs don't do nothing unless you
I'll
got
tell you,
somebody
that's gonna
that's gonna-
deter more
Okay.
than,
I'm gonna jump ahead here. Like, this is what's gonna happen. Sandy and I interviewed 3 people for a new police chief. We picked one of them. And very well qualified. I've made a zillion phone calls to do background check on him and stuff. And tonight, we are gonna vote on whether we're gonna hire him or not. He's gonna have a police chief. Because we've tried to tell the existing people we have to set up radar on these streets, and it's not getting
You
done.
don't listen.
They don't listen.
So you need
So,
somebody that's vested in the.
We're gonna hire a police chief for 40 hours, and hopefully another officer for 40 hours, and this will stop or slow down a lot of it.
So what happens with the police chief? The police chief is not union.
Not what?
He's not union. Your body that works for them, that's all union, they're all one group.
We have a
If we have
part-time
person-
police force,
well,
is
if we
basically
have a
what it
person we can
boils
talk
down
to,
to.
we can't
We're
talk
gonna
to,
get rid of
If
it.
we can get something done, that's what we're trying to do.
Well, at one point, my brother brought up about this, the young police officer, was it last year, Butch, or 2 years ago? That sat at the parking,
Young guy there, the young guy, you know.
wrote all kinds of
He
tickets.
picked up people left and right.
Bluetooth.
Okay, there we go.
I can't think of his name,
He did a good job.
that was his nickname, cause he had a
Done a good
Bluetooth
job,
thing
though.
on his ear.
He slowed everybody down.
Yeah.
Josh Starkowski.
And I,
Even
he was-
just
he
being
was
visible makes a difference, if there's a police presence in the village,
exactly.
and just being visible, you know,
And I don't think you need anybody at 10 o'clock in the morning down there at the corner, sitting there in the.
We've addressed that issue, and like I said, Sandy and I interviewed, 2 of them were retired state troopers, and Josh. Interviewed them all, we've chosen one. That is very and I've done a background check as best I can. I mean, it's like jumping through hoops to get answers. He worked for Broome County DA, he worked trooper for 20 years. He was with the Maine Enwell School District as resource guy. I called, I did not get one bad report on this gentleman. He has called numerous times and connected us and see if we'd made a decision. And tonight, we're gonna make that decision. And one of the questions I asked the man, or I said, if we made you police chief, I go, what would you do to orient yourself to the community? He said, the first thing I'd probably do is go down to the shop owners, introduce myself, go to the school, introduce myself. And I've asked him questions about how we would handle this. You know, we're not looking for a police chief to write a billion tickets. We're looking for a police chief. Boat trailers across the sidewalk. You knock on the door. Hey, your trailer's on the sidewalk. Yeah, we'd like it moved. Go back the second time, I asked you to move the trailer. It's time for you to get a ticket. That's what we're looking for. We're looking for him. We bought 2 brand new radar guns for the police department. I don't think they've been out of the box. So I'm just saying, we've had it with the existing police department, and I'm gonna tell you right now, you wanna add anything?
No, just.
That's good news.
We heard you last year, we did. And the way our existing police force is, it's a part-time police force.
Right.
We don't have a police chief that can do the training. They all work somewhere else, so they're qualified somewhere else. That's how we can have them here. But we work around their schedules and when they can give us time, when their normal jobs aren't using them.
When we need them.
And so we're playing, and we tried last year when Mike and I negotiated the contract, you know, we gave them extra money if they were there on the weekends. We said we wanted 2 people there on Friday and Saturday nights from Victoria Day through Columbus Day. We know we haven't gotten it. This year in our budget, we budgeted for a police chief. You know, we talked to him about, we'd rather have him and another full-time person.
We want full-time, 2 of them.
who are
Good.
truly
Okay.
invested in our community. And then if you need 1 or 2 part-timers to fill in, that's okay too, but having all of these part-timers,
Not doing it.
we're not priority to them.
Right.
So, and I know, I mean, it has been a painful year. It absolutely has, but
And we've
we've
been through.
researched what we had to do, and we've done our due diligence, in my opinion, and we're ready to act.
Okay.
If you get your chief and his assistant, is there a way that you can make his assistant the full-time person, but not be a union man?
I don't think
No.
so. I think has to be a union.
Couldn't you make him deputy chief?
I can't answer that question. I don't know.
If we get into those, 'cause this is how we've been going with this.
It's not like we haven't heard you, we've been trying, and finally we advertised, and we had some good candidates, and we just made a decision, and that's one of the things we were gonna do tonight, and as far as I'm concerned, I just will do it right now.
I'll make a motion that we hire Marco Mancini as our full-time, as an interim police chief, because he does have some things he needs to go through. Is it interim, is that the right word?
Yes.
As our interim police chief until he passes his police chief test, which I have no problem that he will. But it's all through civil service, and they have to schedule, we have to hire him first, then they will schedule him for a test, and then he will take the test, but he will be interim, and we have discussed this with Jim, and he's writing up our contract for us, but, I'll make that motion that he be effective
Tomorrow? Funny.
One other thing, if I could interject here, also
Wait a minute,
too,
there's a
a
motion
lot
on
of
the
the
floor.
trailers that we get. Oh, I'm sorry.
Do I get a second?
Do I have
I'll
a
second it.
I want to go a roll call vote, for everybody. Greg?
Yes.
Doug?
Yes.
Sandy?
Yes.
Judy?
I'm a yes, as long as we follow all the rules that we need to follow to make it happen properly.
And I'm a yes.
I missed that part.
So.
I'm a yes.
There's some stuff we have to follow, it's not complete yet, and some of it we can't do until he's hired. Some of it is automatically, because he's a retired trooper, has already been waived, for certain tests and stuff, so as of right now, as far as I'm concerned, we're gonna make a phone call to him, and he's ready to move. He's been anxious to come up and work, so,
Good.
and that's the start, and then we'll go from there. And
The house across the street from me might be for rent at the end of July.
He's buying.
he owns a place in Clayton right now.
Oh, he does, oh, well.
He is originally from Binghamton, or he is from Binghamton, and he has a summer home cottage in Clayton, but he would make arrangements and possibly want to buy a house here in the village or close by. He would like to work at least a minimum of 10 years if it is possible. He's, you know,
We'll probably be dead by then, you know.
well, that's, you
We'll see him for
know,
a
those are
while.
certain exemptions he has to meet and stuff, but as far as we know, it should clear everything, but
Good.
I mean, I've made phone calls to the Broome County DA, checked on him, like the schools. He worked for Upstate Security, the guy gave him nothing but the best, you know, resources. I mean, it's been quite a thing, hasn't it, Sandy, to try to find any information and get through all this
Right.
stuff, but, you know,
Good move, thank you.
so we figured that.
I've gone the other route. Mike did all the interviews with, you know, the people on his resume, and I went the other route with civil service and Department of Justice, because there's things we've got to do there, and he's met all of the training requirements. We have to do some forms for them, but again, we can't do them because he's not working here yet. So we have to get him here in person so that we can finish this checklist.
Simple things like he has to be fingerprinted and all that kind of stuff, you know.
Yeah.
So
Did he work at a school?
he worked as a resource man for Enwell, a couple of different schools that this upgrade security is, they did all that stuff for a lot of schools down south. And they did security, and he worked at a couple of different schools. I know one of them was Maine
So does he have
Enwell.
to be fingerprinted again? I would have
It's
been.
part of the process. He has to be fingerprinted, and they'll run his fingerprints and, you know, but we're kind of jumping ahead of here a little bit, like Judy said, but we have no choice. I mean, we need to have somebody here full-time, you know. Nothing against Josh, but he, you know, works at Clayton full-time, and we'll go from there, so.
Pretty good. One other thing that a couple of us had talked about was some signage on, Walton Street for Route 12 straight ahead, truck route straight ahead, to take people out past the golf course rather than turning down Catherine Avenue. Janet's son-in-law, was visiting one time, and he goes, "Where'd that road go anyways?" So, some people don't even know where that road does go, past the golf course and here and right up to Route 12.
Yeah,
rather
Put
than-
Right now, you go on the 10
Cut it all
High
the way
Street
to
and
the
stop it all, too. I swear to God, that Iroquois Island and down to Pine Tree, and them, they got trucks running every day. That's crazy, so they come up, turn and get down your
Google
street.
Maps sends
If we
them
did-
down that street all the time.
Yeah.
And why we need a police officer, because Walton Street's getting blacktop this year, and High Street's getting blacktop. And I already know from Tom Pettit.
That'll be a race, right?
That's good.
Does
And we're
Walton
gonna,
Street get blacktop?
what's that?
Does Walton Street get
Yes.
blacktop?
Yes.
Yep.
Yeah.
Wow. You know,
That's
that's
what
its own speed bump. Can't go over 30 miles an hour.
Well, that's what we're hoping, this new police officer and stuff will be taking
That's
care of
why
that,
we need it.
and writing
Thank you
some
very
tickets
much.
and slowing them down, so let's hope it, we're hoping that, you know.
Last year, and my wife and I'd go and say, wow, we saw a cop car in town.
We're gonna see one around the lot once we
Good.
get this straightened out.
Good, 'cause I can see from my house, I can see it.
Right,
It's
so,
good to have them.
One more quick question. We have the Amish running up and down the village, pooping on village streets. We've got to do something about that. My poor neighbor, they pooped all the way across the front of his driveway.
I don't know how
Does
you,
anybody pass a diaper law? Some villages have them.
I doubt that we could do that.
Or at least have them clean up after their porch.
I still doubt we could.
Even that, you heard what happened in Augsburg, the guy put up a thing for in that store on the corner for the Amish to come and tie their buggies up and they walk into town. The guy was nice enough to do that for him.
Yeah.
Put a trash can and a shovel there, and he come out to the Amish and he told them, you're gonna park in my parking lot, you clean up after your horses. That's not in our religion, he says. He says, well, park your horses somewhere else. It was on the news. And he kicked them out. They will not clean up after it. That's what they told him. It's not in our religion. That's what they said, and the
I
guy
can make a
kicked them out.
suggestion, but I won't say it in public.
Go ahead.
What's that?
I can make a suggestion.
Yeah.
Shoot one or two of their voices, they won't come down that street.
You were just
Wherever they're working, they went down the ponies, you go over and untie them, and they come to go home, they're walking.
Okay, is there any more public comments? That kind of stretched out a little bit. Anybody else like to bring anything up?
The question about paving Walton Street,
Yes, sir.
about is that gonna happen this
Fall.
summer?
Fall.
Oh, in the fall.
Yeah, it's gonna get ground down and done that way,
Perfect.
so, okay.
Been one of my please do's for all last year.
I got a little few correspondence to read here, moving on here a little bit. I don't need to read Sam's, because he already,
You've already been there.
Okay, this letter,
I think it's time.
I sent a letter, okay. I sent a letter out to the owners of the sports shop on Market Street about covering the sidewalk, and we had a complaint that it wasn't structurally sound. I mean, here you are trying to protect people from loose bricks and glass falling off. So, Annette from Albertina Courier come down and looked at it, because she'd done some of the work on the structure on the building, so I'm just gonna read this. This was to the county. Dear Jason, on May 19th, 2025, a site visit was made to address the noted above. Structural assessment for sidewalk canopy roof on 13 Margaret Street. Prior to the site visit, I was informed that a canopy roof was constructed above the sidewalk in front of 13 Margaret Street. I found that the canopy was constructed of 2x6 rafters, 16 inches on center, double 2x6 beams framed into 3 6x6 wood posts spaced at approximately 8 feet. At the building wall, the rafters were hung from a ledge attached to the brick wall. It is my opinion that the canopy roof is sufficient to protect people from debris that could potentially fall off the building. However, this is not meant to be a permanent structure, and is not designed to support snow loads. It's only meant to be a temporary means of protecting pedestrians until the building roof and the facade are constructed and repaired. If you have any questions, would like to discuss this letter, please contact me. Sincerely, Annette Mason from Albertina Courier. That's so let people know that it is temporary and it's there to protect people from debris falling off the building until it's structurally taken care of.
I thought it was village improvement.
I have a question, why is there a bench under there?
Well, I don't know why there's a bench
They
under
really,
there. Because they can wander there and smoke cigarettes.
Yeah, I'm gonna train
For
it.
safety, you really want to invite people
It's for
to
the
sit there?
homeless.
Whose bench is it?
I really did.
I have no idea where it
It's
came from.
ours.
They enjoy it, they love that canopy. Every time I go by there, there's somebody outside
There is
sitting there.
somebody under
And
it.
I'm,
And to be
and I
honest
thought
with
the same thing, it's supposed to be, the biggest thing when we wrote the letter was because we had all, the cones were all up,
Mhm.
and people were walking out into the street, and we said, once summer and tourists come, A, we don't wanna lose the parking spots, because we don't have enough, and B, we don't want people walking out into the streets. And obviously Dockside and the other businesses didn't want their businesses to be hurt, so we said, put up a canopy, like
Like
and
they
I
do
was
on-
thinking like in the big cities where they're, the
More like
scaffolding is what I was expecting.
Right, that's what we
not
were expecting, not,
That's not what we were expecting, and, but
and by
she
the
said
way, they didn't actually have a permit for that either. Anyway, it's there, like Jason from the county said, I said, what's the lesser of two evils? You walk out in the road and get hit by a car, or you have a brick fall on your head. You know, I mean, we had to do something in that, and I made a letter to them, and it got taken care of, and now we've got, that it's structurally sound enough to hold until the building is taken care of, which is, as far as I know, is turned over to the county attorney for non-compliance, so. Moving on, I got the letter from Vathias. Was there any other correspondence? We got one for the fireworks we're already taken care of. I I think that's it for correspondence.
Yeah, the rest is
Okay.
further on.
What's this water bill refund, is that?
That's gonna be later on here.
Later,
Okay.
it's in his book later.
Later in the, okay. Minutes from the last meeting, did everybody look them over?
I did, they run everybody's been.
Everybody look them over, is everybody good with them?
Yep. I'll make a motion to approve the minutes from the last board meeting.
I'll second it.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
How about the bills on abstract number 1 as presented? Did anybody get a chance to look at them? Are we good?
Yep.
I did, yep.
Motion to accept the
I'll make a
abstract number 1?
motion to accept approve the bills from abstract number 1.
Second it.
Second it. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay. Trustee reports. Lee, have you gotta go? You wanna go first?
Okay.
Do the zoning first.
The ongoing, saga with the floating dock down on Bethune Street has been resolved. They have met the requirements that the planning board had set up, and I have notified town court that they have satisfied, the part there, so I'm quite sure the hearing will be adjourned with it. Last 2 Wednesday mornings, around 6:30, I come down and did a little inventory of the village to check on sandwich boards. And we have 3 weekly problems with the same people not taking them in at night, and they're not tethered. I drove down through today. Most of them are pretty tight to the building. There's only 2 of them that are tethered. One of them got to lean against the building because he doesn't have enough sidewalk space, which, you know, I give the gentleman credit for that. I guess my question is, when do I start retrieving them and have them come look for them, whether it's at the DPW barn or where? They have had 3 letters, or 3 people that refused to put them inside. They all got a letter in the beginning, all the businesses, about the new sign law, and they've had 2 follow-up letters of non-compliance. I haven't issued any remedy to violations, so I guess when do we want to start confiscating property?
Pick them up on the 4th of July, so they won't have them.
Who are the 3?
Who are the 3? Dancing Dog, 1864, and, Good Dog Charlie's.
Well, Lee, if you
And
don't...
I did make an exception to Dockside. The lady called me about the canopy and the lack of visibility and so on and so forth, so I agreed with her that she could leave hers there for this season until the building gets fixed next door. That was the only exception I made, with it.
Here's the way I feel about it. If you're not gonna enforce it, then why have it?
Right. Okay.
Pick them up.
Okay.
And I don't know if maybe
We'll pick them up the first time.
bring
and
them
they-
in here to the
And
office.
they can have them back.
I don't know if I want the girls to have to deal with it.
Yeah, but you're not always gonna have somebody down at the
Right.
DPW.
So
they
here's the way I
they can call
feel. Did we ever
DPW.
set a fine on it? Did we ever set a fine on it?
I don't think-
No, just court action.
Can we set a fine on it?
Yeah, I guess so. Jim?
Yeah, I mean, if someone's charged with a violation, a judge has the ability to impose a fine. You'd establish a fine, presumably no more than a violation.
Do you have to do a resolution and all that?
You'd have to adopt a local law to change your regulations on that.
I
Okay,
think
well,
taking it away is perfect.
I think pick them up for now, and we'll talk about a fine in the future.
Okay. Yeah.
Because if we don't give you the authority, then why even have the sign law?
Okay.
Right.
Take it slowly.
It's just a waste of time,
Okay,
okay?
no problem.
That's the way I feel about it.
No.
Do we need to pass it?
No, and so just so the minutes will reflect that what I understand with that sign provision is it potentially poses a danger, a hazard to pedestrians and potentially to motor vehicle traffic. So in the exercise of your discretion, if you consider it to be an emergency, you do have the inherent power to remove the sign. Just so the minutes reflect that.
Are you pretty much set then, Lee? Anything else?
For that? for
No,
the-
you got more stuff?
Yeah.
Okay, go ahead. I got a question for you, but go ahead.
The ZBA is having an area variance on the 25th. It'll be the first test of the new sign law. Cornwall Brothers, would like to keep their sign down by the Riverwalk, and it's more than this distance from the main door, so the ZBA will have a decision to make. The lady did have some figures on the amount of traffic they had before they put the sign down there, and where it is now, they feel that, you know, it's productive. So we'll leave it up to the ZBA to determine if they wanna, you know, amend, that particular part. Talking about the ZBA, we only have 3 members currently. Our village law says we're required, we can have 5, or you can vote to have 3. We need a quorum. So when we have just the 3, we gotta make sure everybody's there. I did talk to Jim about a potential resolution about changing the residency requirements, for serving on the boards. It's totally up to you folks. It's in your packet. I'm pretty sure Erica put it in, with it. There's been some interest in people serving on the board that are business people, but don't currently live in the village. So, that's where I'll kinda leave it, and I'll leave the decision up to you folks with it.
Do they at least live in the town?
Jim had prepared it to live in the town. One of the people does not even live in the town, but that's how however you wanna word it, whether it be town residents or.
Yeah. So if a village adopts land use regulation zoning, then you're also required statutorily to have a zoning board of appeals. Your zoning board of appeals has to be either 3 or 5 members. The board previously established 5-member board. To be a member of your ZBA, they've got to be at least age 18, they've got to be a U.S. citizen, and they have to be a resident in the village. That's the way the framework is set up. However, the law's changed since then, and you have the ability, even by resolution, to expand the residency requirement for a member of a ZBA. The general power is you could expand it to be a citizen that resides anywhere in the county. That becomes your discretion. What Lee had suggested was that you might be more inclined to expand the residency requirement if the residency was somewhat limited to somewhere within the town of Alexandria. That's the resolution you've got, but again, it's completely your call, whether you proceed one way or another. Now, what as I understand, brought this on, 5-member ZBA, you gotta have a ZBA to have zoning, 3 is a quorum. You have a real problem, as I understand it, in establishing a quorum, and so business isn't being conducted. So you either leave it the way it is, or you might consider changing by local law so that your ZBA is not 5 members, it's only 3. Or you might consider expanding the residency requirements to somewhere within the township. But you've just got the resolution of the township. I prepared it for your consideration.
Have we put it out there to enough village residents that we're looking?
It's on the website.
Well, I don't look at that thing.
So like I said, have we put, I mean, I think before I would vote yes to expand it, to, except, you know, not to live in the village, we'd have to make a real concerted effort to get it out there that we're looking for zoning board members. Yeah, nobody looks at the website half the time, and I really think somehow we have to get it out there, Pam. I think we should work on that first and then maybe consider this. I don't know how everybody else feels. And, you know, to have a business owner be on the zoning board that doesn't even live in the area.
I agree.
I like it village, but I feel the same as you.
I think we should, you're right.
Let's work at reaching out to people.
Change it to 3,
Yes.
and then eventually have down there 2 alternates.
I was just gonna say, can you
And if
have
the
alternate?
if the 3 people can't make it, call an alternate. So that you always really do have 5, but you only got 3.
Yeah, so you could change it by local law to reduce it to 3. You can also have alternates. technically in the state law, an alternate is only eligible to serve if there's a conflict of interest, but you could adopt another resolution to expand the ability so the alternate could come on. Fill in even in the situation of a vacancy. So you've got a little bit of flexibility, but it sounds like a problem does exist as far as maintaining a quorum to be able to conduct business to help the citizens.
Well, I would prefer to see if we could make it 3 and 2 alternates, and then we actively, you know, we look for people. We have to start talking about it and get people to understand we need help.
Well, we changed that law for so many years, but back when I was over there where Lee's working now over in Orleans, our zoning board was the zoning board and planning board. We had 5 people, and they were zoning and planning, they did both. I think you can do that.
You can do that.
Yes.
We use the alternate in the Orleans and the ZBA, and the alternate comes every meeting, he gets paid, and whether he's voting or, you know, he participates, and, if there's someone's absent, he can vote with it.
Well, I like that.
The town board approved that provision.
To have zoning and planning together.
No, to have the alternate, have the capability of voting, I mean, there's some things, you know, conflict of interest, but this person can vote if there's an absent, someone's absent, can't make it.
They don't have to hold something up to bring them up to speed, because they're at all the alternates at all the meetings.
Yep.
Yeah, I like that, better than somebody from Florida coming in here and making decisions because they have a t-shirt shop, you know.
Okay, I understand where you're coming from with that, yep, makes sense.
So, we can hold off on this and then do.
Again, you're the boss, you're the elected officials, but, so if the board comes to the conclusion that there might be room for improvement, then if what I'm hearing, you're thinking about adopting a local law to reduce the zoning board of appeals membership from 5, reducing it down to 3, and then also to adopt a resolution to create alternates who would serve as alternates for the ZBA and the planning board. Is that where you're headed?
I think so, they said they're gonna think of it.
I don't think so, but I think that's where I'm at.
Yeah,
So we need to drop a new resolution then for next meeting then.
That's a local law.
Yeah, that's a local law.
That's a local law that would have to be introduced.
Yes.
And then you have a waiting period, you have to have a public hearing before you can vote on it. So it'll be halfway through the summer, or it'll be August before we can get there.
The quickest
We need to beat the trails right now to find 2 people that are willing to go onto the board so they can continue to do business. And then, you know, if we do wanna change it, that way if you have a 3-member board instead of the 5, you can at least meet a quorum.
2, right?
Yes, and do business.
Two of our 3, current ZBA members, I'm not worried about. They're always there, you know, and the other ones kind of depend on health and stuff, so. But usually the chairman will, and I try to send a notice out like I did today about the meeting coming up on the 25th, so they got, you know, forewarning and stuff. I emailed everybody.
Can we get the addresses of the ladies behind you?
I think they're on here.
Oh, they're not paying attention. Zoning board member, alternate.
I only have one other thing. Thursday night, up at the Town of Alexandria Municipal Building, we're having a speed reduction presentation by LaBella Associates. They'll go through and do a presentation on what's required as far as putting together a traffic study. Orleans and the town and the village, and I did have the county send out notices to the planning department, whoever they, you know, invited, so.
Where's that notice?
6 o'clock, town municipal building.
Up here, to our town?
Yep.
I got are you all caught up there?
Yes.
I got a question for you. Did they ever apply for a permit for that photo booth?
No one's ever, you mentioned someone's gonna come in and contact me.
Cause the Better Improvement League there, all them women are up in arms doing all that work, and you got
Okay.
that ugly looking.
I'll have to send it to the property owner,
Send
even
that.
if he's not the,
It looks like we got a
applicant.
carnival going up through there now, you know, so.
I can get that out tomorrow.
Well, there was a bench in front of it,
That was.
blocking it.
That was me.
Well, yeah, I know, and then they moved the bench to the side.
I see, they did
And
that.
then somebody moved it
Up.
this perpendicular, like, and then it was blocking the river walk, which kinda got weed whacked. So, yeah,
It just,
it's too big for us to pick up and move.
it's just, they didn't go through the proper channels to set that. And last year was right on the river walk, and I told them to move it. So they cut the fence back and just set it off on the edge of the property, and that doesn't fly.
I'll send a notice to the property owner.
Okay.
They're ultimately responsible.
Can
Okay.
we have a flea market in the village?
Do we, or can you? What was,
I have
I
to-
think there is one
I'd have to check the code.
on that same property.
I don't know. That's a good question.
I'd have to check the code though.
Oh, on the museum property, I'm told they rented the little section of it to a thrift store.
Our thrift store?
No,
And one from Cape Jensen?
yeah,
In here.
and they're renting that little, if you're looking at the museum on the right-hand side, they rented that little store space, is what I'm told.
I can give them a letter too.
I mean, is that, you have to have a permit to.
I gotta see if it's permitted, first of all, a flea market in that district, in a business district.
Okay, all right.
Is it a flea market or a
It's not
thrift store?
I'm told it's a thrift shop.
It looks like a flea
Well,
market, but,
you know where else
but
I
they've
bet
been,
They're supposed to take any money on the street.
yeah.
But,
They
thanks,
take
Lee.
money,
Okay.
they have to do it inside the building.
Yeah, flea market.
They're in the parking lot.
I think a flea market is being outside.
Yeah.
Catherine's dressed in
Okay, let's, Jared, you wanna give your report?
Absolutely.
Been waiting, huh?
Make it short.
Yeah, it's gonna be real short. We got the ditch dug around, up on top of the hill, so we could get those fixed up there, up on top. We're still in the midst, like I said, I had a crew in from 3 o'clock until 11 o'clock, for 2 weeks, getting line spray painted. We're still working on it. Parking meter posts are still getting painted too. Tomorrow, we're just gonna start getting ready. We have the River Fest that's going on Thursday. So we're gonna have to get the big concrete barricades for, security reasons. Thursday morning, I have a meeting with Fort Drum about security, supposedly here at the municipal building, about the expectations of blocking off certain things with the concrete barricades. We cleaned up a couple properties. We cleaned up the property down on Otter Street Bridge and Rockwell Water Tower and boat ramps. It's amazing, we only mowed one lawn as of now, that was in non-compliance, and I've had about 3 out of them that did mow and say, I'm not paying that $400. So
Doesn't matter.
well, these are the ones I did, and the other ones I didn't, it's amazing how quick they came around when they found out that that's what it was gonna
Well, we
cost.
had phone calls in the office, and they call Sarah and say, please call, because they know it's you. Please call Jarrett and tell him we're gonna cut it. Don't come, if they haven't done it yet, which they know they hadn't, tell them not to plan. We're gonna do it. So it worked.
It worked. So, but other than that, it's just, we're trying to get ready for the curtains are gonna go up this week. I heard through the grapevine, I haven't been told personally, we have more up there again this year, up at the pavilion.
You have what?
It's, not the senior prom, but it's for the younger kids, more.
More.
My wife told me that it was up to the pavilion next Friday night, which I haven't heard anything about, so I don't know if it's on the calendar.
I don't know anything about it.
So I wanna make sure that the pavilion is ready and the curtains are up and screening,
Has anybody heard anything about it?
so.
How old are these?
They're like the 8th and 9th graders that have it up there. They had it last
They
year
have it
too
every
up there.
Oh, and, okay,
It's prom backwards.
Yeah.
More.
oh.
So,
This kid's ready to be in 11th grade, okay?
I have enough trouble with all them abbreviations, so.
The ones we need to know, let alone more,
They've
prom,
had for years up there.
never
for
went
young
there.
kids.
More,
Is that,
okay.
that's it.
Doug, you want anything, got anything to add?
Nope, nothing, except for they're getting all the coal patching done, yeah, I do see that.
Yeah.
Getting that all taken care of, and
And I got something to add.
we got a couple things in the workings we do. We're gonna fix those tenant, the pickleball courts. We're gonna get them filled in here shortly around them, so we can get them new pickleball courts put together. The old chamber building, we're getting ready to scrape that and paint that and make that presentable down there at Rotary Park. which it's all it really needs is a good paint job, and that building will look pretty good by the time we're done. But other than that, that's pretty much it.
Okay. I can give you the police report. Police department had 5 complaints, 0 arrests, 0 tickets, 1 warning, and 6 parking tickets.
Hopefully that'll change.
Just photocopied from the last 6 months. But we're dealing with that, so. I will add, I personally, a note on that, they had a big party on, I think it's 77 Church Street, Macaroon's old house, for 4 o'clock in the morning. And I got a few phone calls, so I called the owner, and I said that won't happen again, because it's an Airbnb. And I gave all the people that called his phone number, and I said, make sure you call him at 3 o'clock in the morning, and if you don't get a hold of him, keep calling all week until you get a hold of him. So, I think he got my point, that, you know, when you're gonna rent it out, it's up to 11 o'clock, it's time to tone it down, so.
I have one more quick question for Josh. Who do I call? The pavilion camera on the inside is not working. Is that us? Is that Ridge Retail? But
Yes.
the camera is ours or is their camera?
I believe it's their camera.
And the electric and everything is there, is working?
Yeah. It's not the one that faces Bolt Castle, you're talking about the one that's
One inside, so you can see inside the
That's
pavilion. Thank you.
I'm gonna, Greg, you got anything you wanna add?
I can read my same report.
Okay.
The month of May, the water plant still in satisfactory condition, it ain't changed again, but that's okay. They dug and repaired a shut off at Nav's Popcorn. They dug and repaired the main valve on Bethune Street. The clay valve, the one that they run from within the water plant, they fixed that, but it's still leaking by, so that's a part of the new plant. They dug and repaired a water main break on Rock Street with assistance from the town of Morristown. They reinstalled filter number 1s back together, and you guys were down there on Thursday with me.
Right.
They figured out the leak was up in the, fitting up at the top, not on the gasket, not on the O-ring, on the filter. They said they had 43 work orders, they've installed 35 meters. Okay.
Good. You got anything to add to that, Judy?
With the meters that we do have in, we are calling people when, it actually, the computer pops up the top 10 users. And if we see that there are more, like some of the hotels just opened, so, you know, we can't, but somebody on High Street that used 5,000 gallons in 4 days, you know, we call them and, you know, we found it just, we called, Russ and said, hey, you know, so he found it. There are a lot of people like that. We help ledges find
Yes.
water and, even, Dancing Dog. And so people, the meters being in for everybody will be a good thing when it's all said and done, because we will save people money, and the bigger thing is we will use less water overall.
Okay.
Other than, you want me to just finish my report quick?
Yeah, go ahead.
We finally have enough, lifeguards. We, a gentleman named Chris Simino is gonna start, soon, and, he is brand new lifeguard. We had to call Claude Curley to see, he's just over 15, he's gonna have working papers, he can work, but he cannot work by himself. So he has to work with somebody who's been here before, which isn't a problem because we have 3 others. We have enough dock attendants. We're gonna have a dock attendant, we're trying to have one on Thursday from like 9 to 4, or whatever one of them can do, just in case they come in by boat. And other than that, we had talked earlier about the paving, and I do have a split, again, a total of the CHIPS money that we had talked about briefly before, that our accountant is saying it's time to use it or lose it, which we're going to do, use the money in the fall. So we have different categories we can use it for, so we might have to, you know, one is Pave New York, then there's the regular CHIPS. What's ERW?
Emergency.
Road work, that's 40,000, and then, what's POP?
Same thing.
I don't remember.
A lot of that is emergency.
Yeah. Yeah, we have over probably closer to 400,000 and all that money that we can use. And this, our accountant mentioned it again today, I have to call her and say, yes, we're gonna do this, we're gonna start in October, because I guess the state is threatening that if you don't use it,
I
We won't get any more,
already
right?
told him that we're doing it.
it's.
I'm waiting for him, he's gotta come, they gotta come in, they got a core sample, I know we'll be okay on Walton Street, because we've
Mhm.
already done that and ground it. They gotta come in and core sample High Street to make sure there's enough product to grind and put back down, but there should be. So, but that's the only thing what we're waiting on. He's grinding right now for the town, I want him to get over.
Who's doing it?
Suco.
Make sure it's below the curb when
Yeah,
they
well.
get done, so it don't come down High Street and down my backyard. That would be nice. Slip below the
I would like
curb.
to do High Street earlier in the year.
That's
Just
fine.
because we could shove it down Anthony Street or something. I understand we're not gonna be able to do Walton Street, I get that, I mean, that's just.
Yeah.
But if we could get maybe High Street earlier in the season instead of when leaves are falling, you know.
Sure.
Yeah, that's not a bad idea.
It costs a lot of money, I know.
Where do you start on, where does it start and stop on Walton?
We stopped just before your house.
Does it go south?
I
can barely get to it anyway, so
You were quicker than I was.
You guys know where I live, that's unfair.
You know where I live.
Yeah,
Um,
that is fair.
Okay, the other thing, if we
I
have
didn't get an
around,
answer. What was?
it's gonna come to the school, right? Where's it gonna stop on Walden?
Well, I've got some extra footage in there, so that's,
It will come past your house.
yeah.
I need
Just
some,
fast.
I need some
You can just
picnic
stop right at
tables
Jimmy
on
Davis.
Casino Island.
What's this now?
I need some picnic tables on Casino Island.
That's fine, I got that already on my list.
Okay, you
I
heard
got
me,
you. I
okay,
took
yeah,
care of
we
it.
have the grills out there, it was a gorgeous weekend, we had one picnic table, there was a big family using it, and there were other people, they were all sitting on the grass on blankets and stuff, so if we have any, and if you go under the bridge and look to the right on the rocks there's a picnic table, that one can be moved.
Okay.
Other than that, I talked to our accountant today, the office is working well. If anybody has any problems or anything, let me know. We seem to be, when people call or come in, we are reacting well and responding well to people, and people have noticed a change. So I think the ladies are doing a good job in the office. That's all I have.
Greg, a quick question on I got something new on front of my house. Is that new electronic?
That's a skunk.
Huh?
That's a skunk.
It's what?
Skunk.
No, I got rid of him years ago. White Chevrolet.
Yeah,
Is that the new electronic water meter thing?
yes.
Okay.
So how much of the village is done with water meters?
We've only got 135 in.
So how
Out
many?
of
A third.
Third.
Yeah, there's 602 to go.
There's 602 total.
The goal is by the end of the year, right, Greg?
It's gonna be before the end of the year. It's gonna be way before that.
Golf course,
Jared.
they've been working up on the bottom side of the, where the tennis courts are. We got the tennis courts were cleaned, they look beautiful. The tree root that was trying to push up through the bottom court has been ground down and repaired. We've still got one big clump of trees left to take out. But we had to get all the other stuff around it, which that's all been cleaned up, and it is looking very nice down through there, so it's coming. We still gotta get the nets up, on the tennis courts. Does your guys know how to do it?
You're talking about the wind nets, Sandy?
The ones
The big one, right, the big black
that goes post to post?
Yeah, so, Court had actually talked to him today, and, through Betterment and stuff, and he had actually asked me to, he says, they're not up yet. So I have that written on my list to try to get that put up here. Hopefully, like I say, the next couple days, we're getting caught up on some of the mowing that we can kind of branch out and get some of that stuff done too.
Yeah, I mentioned it to Greg last week, and he was like, I don't have the first clue what to do, and I said, it can't be one person, it really takes two or three.
2 or 3, that's
Cause
big.
it's heavy, I mean, I helped do it last year, and I'm willing to come and help, I just can't do it by myself. So, yeah. So I guess that's all I've got.
He had also gave me the plaques for the benches up there that, the Betterment had donated. So there's, plaques that we have to go up and screw onto the back of those up there
Okay,
on the forts.
okay.
Before we move on, I was just texted that I need to make a motion to hire my new lifeguard, Chris Simino. So I'll make that motion, if I could have a second.
I'll second it.
All in favor?
Aye.
Great. And the office just updated me, there are 199 meters in.
Good deal.
We're getting there.
Gregory, you ready? You've been
Sure.
Sitting there patiently waiting.
Definitely, no problem. So, I have some documents for the board.
Great.
The bid opening was held last Thursday for the water tank and for the electrical contract for the tank. This is a qualifications package, just to make you a little more familiar with the contractors that are involved. The tank contractor is Statewide Aquastore, and the electrical is Blackstone Electric. They're out of Dexter. So that includes everything from their projected schedule to references, includes the bid results, that's right at the beginning. So one of the first pages has the bid results. The total base bid for the tank is $3.798 million. And it has the two alternates. There's an active mixing system and a passive mixing system. The passive was $75,600 and the active system is $21,900. And then contract two, which is the electrical, and this is the electrical just for the tank. It doesn't include the water plant. That'll be a separate contract.
Right, just for the water.
Just for the tank itself.
Yep.
Total base bid is $122,104. And if you decide to go with the active mixing system, which is essentially a pump that runs continuously to help keep the water turned over. You know, we talked a little bit about that at the progress meeting last week. For the electrical, if you go with that option, there was a separate line item, and that's $2,630 for the electrical contractor.
So have you reviewed all this? Are you recommending that we accept these bids?
On our end, we're satisfied. We've worked with both contractors previously. We don't take any issue with either contractor. I know at the progress meeting, we talked about still leaving it open until we have a chance to talk to Jim and review everything with him prior to awarding the contracts. So I think there was a discussion about awarding contingent on Jim's final review and approval of the contracts.
Yeah, that's where we left it.
But on our end, on the technical side, we don't take any issue with either contractor.
I guess we need to decide on the alternate whether it's a passive or an active mixing. What do you think, Greg? You know more about
You were
that.
supposed to do the homework when you left the meeting the other night.
It's really a preference,
Well, explain it to me what the passive is, what the
yeah,
difference
so
is.
passive is strictly based, the system discharges water at one point in the tank, and it has valves that create a mixing of the tank, and then it pulls the water from a different location. So it's not, some tanks, like your tank across the road, has one pipe in, and the same pipe goes out at the same point. So it comes through the floor, it's probably up 6 to 8 inches off the ground, and the water comes in and goes right back out. So it doesn't really mix the whole system. On a passive mixing system, the water discharges typically at a different point. So the valve allows one-way flow to a different point in the tank. So whether it's higher in the tank or maybe it's on the floor farther out, it discharges there, and then when it pulls the water, when the system has demand, it goes out a different valve. So the valves are single-way flow. It's coming in one direction and then going back out a different location.
Which I'm okay with the one that's not all the time. What we talked about, and they're gonna have to learn how to run the tower, is have the pumps come on more frequent. okay? So the pumps would come on more so we wouldn't drop as many feet, we wouldn't drop 6, 8, 10 feet at a time. We'd only drop 3 feet, and then the pumps would kick on that
Right.
much more often.
So what Greg's saying is, right now, especially in the wintertime,
Because we have,
specifically,
oh, I heard.
you're only
like
using
that.
a certain amount of water, so they're filling the tank. Are they even doing it every day?
Yeah,
Yeah,
it
it's
goes
like
every
12
day.
hours, isn't it?
It's not that long, not.
So water goes in the tank, and then there's no more, filling of the
So
tank
moving.
for a long period of time, so the water's coming in
that's-
and then
I'm worried about that
discharging.
one, the new one over there, this one, you know how I feel about this one. But that one over there, if we put a new tower up, we definitely gotta keep it safe. We gotta keep that moving from ice. Because when this winter's hit, I mean, it was a cold winter.
So which one would
Right.
do that, the active or the passive?
That, the passive, it either, both of them would work over here.
Okay,
But the one you're gonna have to put over here is gonna have to be the full-time bubbler if you're gonna put one over here, if we decide to do one.
If you decide to do one over here. So this is just for the new
This is
tank.
just-
I'm just worried about the new tower.
You've seen these tanks
Not
put
really worried about that one.
elsewhere,
Okay, so-
what did they use?
We've seen both, and a lot of times it's a preference of the community.
What's in Mexico?
Mexico, I think it's a passive system.
So passive is a cheap one.
Passive is more.
Passive is the more expensive.
The passive is 75,600.
and that's the one that
Active's
turns
20.
the water over more often.
So
And mix it.
Or
passive,
mixes
there's
it.
nothing
There's no
mechanical.
electrical, there's no
No,
electrical.
there's no
Nothing
mechanical.
mechanical. The active mixing, you can think of a submersible pump
Which
in
I
a
think that's the
well.
way to go with the
It
new
just
one.
keeps
versus-
moving the water all the
Passive.
time.
Yeah, I think that's the way to go with.
Which
the
one?
See,
Passive with the new one.
sooner or later you got electric, you're gonna have an issue with it, it's gonna quit.
Well, you got no problems in there with it, I mean, it's just.
You don't have to worry about a motor, failing at any point. It's-
All I know is looking for down the road, because this one, hopefully this one will be gone someday. And that will all go to that one, that'll be a 500,000 over there. So, for you people that are sitting back there wondering what we're talking about, we hold 1,250,000 gallons in that tank over there. The new one's gonna hold 500,000. So we're gonna hold almost 1.75 million gallons. And what happens in the winter, there's not you guys aren't drinking enough water, you gotta drink water.
Because of those water meters.
That's what happens, we just don't turn water over quick enough in the winter to keep them from freezing. And they get a polar cap and then blow the tops off the tower, then we're fixing the tower. So it's
Helps with water.
a struggle with your
Water
operators, is what it is, to keep it from blowing apart. It's, we keep.
So it helps with ice
Your polar
cap,
cap going.
But
And
by
you
keeping
gotta-
it passive.
keeping the water age more consistent. So
You don't get
you're not
that
pulling the
stagnant.
same water in that
Same
you just
water
put in
is
there.
pulling out, right,
Yeah.
it mixes it up, so you're using the tank.
Right.
Right.
Instead
It's
of
a
just
playing
using
game,
a
but it's a guessing
percentage.
game. We've had mild winters and it hasn't bothered. This one hasn't been half as bad. But boy, when we have a bad winter, you don't wanna be standing next to this one.
Yeah.
It rocks this tower,
Yeah.
that ice.
Cause you're pumping water in, and taking it out.
A different way.
A different point.
It's a force thing. Do I understand that right? It's in and out, and
What
it's
do you
all
guys-
by
what
force
do you guys
instead of mechanical.
Right, you're using the
It's up to you
pumping,
guys, too.
the pumps to
What?
push the water in,
In.
and it's coming out valves,
It doesn't make
Somewhere else.
sense.
circulating around,
We're looking
and
for
pulling out at a
I
different
see,
point.
what do you guys think? I know it's more expensive, but I like the less mechanical, less.
I'm thinking
gonna
the same,
put a copy
Me
when
too.
you got mechanical, sooner or later something's gonna.
Right.
Website.
Ken, a copy of this,
Yeah, it's not very big.
or you
Scan it,
can
put it
come
in.
into the office and sit in the hallway and read it,
I might do that.
okay? Putting it online might be,
Yeah, I don't
all
know how
the
you're
maps
gonna
and
scan
everything.
that.
Yeah, we're not.
Do you have
I'm leaning
it, do
towards
you
the
have it in a
passive.
PDF form?
I
I'm a
can
passive.
check, I can send it to the village if we do.
Yeah, if you do.
Let's go with the
send it to me.
passive. Let's go
Have
with
it
the
on
passive.
PDF.
I
We have
think
to
we need to
pass
Go
go
with the passive,
I think we need to go with the passive.
get away from having electrical motor.
Yeah, on the new
Exactly.
one, on the new one, but that one over there, I don't mind putting a bubbler in that one,
In this tank.
for
And
now.
the new one, let's just try to keep it simple,
Okay,
even though it's more money, it's,
I would like to.
so do you wanna, I mean,
Off for the winter.
so yeah, so for
Yeah, good, good
this,
idea, drain it.
if the board is ready, I think it would be a resolution contingent on Jim's final review of documents.
Contract, payment, performance bond.
Yeah, this would just be for awarding the contract, so it'd just be given the final go ahead.
Resolution or a motion?
a motion?
A motion.
So, we need a motion to accept the bid for the tank and with the passive alternate and electrical, the low bidders for both jobs, correct?
Correct.
I'll make that motion dependent upon Attorney Burrow's review. Is that what we need, Jim?
That would do it.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Where was
We
the
got a
water
new tank
tank?
coming.
Where was the water tank?
We got a new tank coming.
Yay!
Where's the
Fine.
water-
They're
need
out
it,
of,
finally.
I think they're out of the Syracuse area, I think.
They're still staying in New York, folks.
Get some of it started.
Yeah, just a couple more things in the book. They talked about the schedule, that's gonna be of interest for the board.
Did they talk about probably taking the old one down by
The
fall?
first thing will be the old tank, and it looks like they have an August 25th start time for the demo.
Beautiful.
Is there any way you could get me a schedule?
Yeah. Yeah. So demo in August, and it looks like they have intentions of working on the foundation.
Demo in August?
August 25th.
Okay, what's
And
happening?
then they're looking to
Take your old
complete it by
tank down.
next September?
Okay, no, as long as they're just not gonna, they don't work, what, Fridays? Weekends?
For the tank demolition?
Yes.
It's actually a relatively quick process.
Okay, we're not
I was
gonna,
gonna say, they won't be there long.
No, they
okay,
won't
we're
be
not
there
gonna
long.
tie up traffic over some big weekend.
No.
No, we'll work with the contractor to make sure that they're,
That's tentative schedule.
that's a tentative schedule, yeah. As they get approval, I see where you're coming from, too. You threw me off there for a minute, I was trying to figure out what you were,
Why Judy doesn't want this to start, right? No, I'm ready.
So can I give you one thing before you go home?
yeah.
Tentatively looking to start the end of August then?
We sent them up to the tower. The tower was 5 foot lower than the telemetry at the plant. So that was reading 5 foot low on the PSI. Remember I told you?
Oh, yeah, for the
I can't
pressure.
take a shower at my, you guys got speeders, I can't get water. Yeah, at my house, so, and the
Did you
water's
look at
always
the
right
gauge,
behind
Greg?
it.
I get
Yeah.
too much water.
It was down 5 foot lower, so he's bumping it up to see if we can get back up to where we can.
We're closer to the overflow,
Yeah.
yeah. And it's probably something you wanna do just incrementally, as, you know, it won't
5
take that
feet.
long to do, but
5 feet won't do nothing, that's gonna get it up to 48 pounds of pressure.
give you a couple more PSI.
Yeah.
Second
Yeah.
story.
Second story, now I can live on
Did you
my
find
second
that,
story.
Mike, in there, the
Schedule?
schedule?
I
I could show you if you're,
yeah, kind of.
So they had,
You told me, I mean, I know what.
yeah, they had, it's the fold outs, I think that's
Is that what it is?
Greg, how come you've got low
I see
water?
him right now.
Yeah,
You're lower
okay,
than I am.
right there's a state line,
Huh?
that's,
You're lower
you see
than
it,
I am.
Sandy?
In the village.
So
aren't
they
you?
go
You're
through
on New-
different,
you're on the end of the new main, I'm
milestones.
not.
Oh,
But that's probably of
I got
interest
some of
to
my
people in the
people on the
village,
new
is the
main.
schedule,
He's about
Yeah.
4-inch main.
I'm on a
especially the
4-inch main.
neighbors.
We probably could
Orange.
put that on the website or something.
It's probably 2 inch, yeah,
And we can update it as things move
I
along.
bet it's 2 inch.
All right,
Inside.
okay, I'm gonna look
the
at that.
guys in the water line, California was,
Anything else, Gregor?
Just
24-inch water lines.
Just a couple of things. Atlantic Testing, they have a permit from the DOT now, so they have a few borings to complete. I don't think they've been back yet,
They have not.
but you may get notice on that, Jarrett.
Yeah, they'll do a dig safe first, that's how I'll find out.
Right. Easements, we talked about easements at the progress meeting. We're drafting a letter that, you can publish, maybe Pam can actually help us out with publishing a notice so that people are aware of easements. We'll probably send those out to start with. And you can also publish on your website so that people can, see what it's all about.
Then we can go knocking on doors, asking them about the easements, and also asking if they wanna be a zoning board member or alternate,
All at once.
and maybe bring the brownies and stuff, candy at the same time. We're gonna be out there.
And
Okay.
Sandy, you're a notary too, right?
So you're
that may
gonna
be
say-
useful for that.
Yep.
The only
I'll go door
other,
knocking with you.
I'll go with
yeah, definitely.
Yep.
The only other thing, and I still need to get an answer, is on the Supramatic filters. They were on site last Thursday. I think everyone felt that they were, a comparable filter, and we're looking into the ability to have a procurement to get the filters so you can base the design on that specific filter type versus trying to, there's slight differences between the two. Be easier to have the filters, there's some lead time on getting the filters, and then base your design on whichever filters you end up with.
So what you're saying is do we ask both of them companies to bid just the filters, is that what you're saying?
That's what we're asking the regulatory agencies, if that's possible, but yes.
That way then you can design.
You can design to that specific filter, you're not trying to make one design.
And you also wanna know time-wise, you know,
Right.
if you're gonna be 2 years or a year, it's gonna make a difference to on our decision.
I know RP Adams had a longer lead time,
Yeah, I
with
remember.
separatic filters, I think they were pushing 6 months
I was
to a
gonna say, I
year.
thought you
I
said
think.
6 months a lot.
So it also gives a contractor, if the regulatory agency is okay with this, if you have them on site, it gives the contractor more, flexibility on when they start and when they do the work. They're not waiting to order and
Right.
then waiting for.
The filters will be
6
there.
to- Yeah, 6
Okay.
to 12 months to get the filters.
Judy,
Does anybody have a problem with that?
No.
Putting that out like that? I think we should go ahead and do
As soon as
that.
I get a good answer, I'll let everybody know, but
That's just,
that's what's gonna be
Is
proposed.
everybody good with putting the filters out for bid
Yeah, I'm
separate?
good with separate.
Yeah.
So just be the filters themselves, the
Yeah.
actual
if
filter.
we can.
Do we need
Yeah,
to,
if we can.
we make a motion for that? Do we need to make a motion for that, or?
Probably at this point, let me get the regulatory response from the health department, and
Okay.
then, we can either have a quick special meeting or do it
Well,
at the July meeting.
Okay, we can, yeah, that'd be fine.
Let's see. I meant to confirm, we talked about a progress meeting. I think it's July 4th week is when our typical next meeting is.
Yeah.
Did we settle on a final
I think we did.
date?
I think we did too.
Didn't we settle on the Thursday after? I don't,
I know we talked about two things, maybe doing
I
it,
think we had the 10th.
Yeah,
was it 10th? Okay.
yeah.
And 4 o'clock again?
Yep.
Okay. I just have one last thing, we have a meeting scheduled tomorrow, Judy had forwarded that invite, we've talked about it for 10 o'clock. It's with EFC and,
I don't know if I can do it. I did talk to Erica, and Erica is gonna be on
okay,
and take care of it. I'm gonna try. My son's having some minor surgery tomorrow, so I'm gonna be in Syracuse and then driving him home. If I can at 10 o'clock, I will.
okay.
If not, she will.
And this
Please
is,
listen.
this is just a general, it's specific to the Village of Alex Bay funding. And the Office of Community Renewal is the agency that does the Community Development Block Grant, they administer that program. So they'll be on this call, and EFC, which is Environmental Facilities Corporation, that's where you currently have your funding through. So both those agencies will be on the call, so we can
Do
talk
you need,
about.
Taylor or Thomas and Dank?
I can forward that to them.
That's up to you if you need them. And,
Yeah,
you know, if you would need me to be there, it has to be another day, like I told you.
okay. I think as long as somebody's on for the village, if Erica can make it,
She'll
I think
listen,
that'll-
but I don't know that she's gonna be able to discuss anything.
okay. And if anyone
that
else
be
is
needed?
available, it's
It's 10 o'clock.
10 o'clock,
That's for the funding, correct?
funding, correct.
All right, see if I might make it. I
Okay.
can't say for sure.
Okay, if anybody else can make it, she's gonna do it on the,
Right out here.
yeah, the computer and
All right.
like we did before.
It's fairly quick, Mike, it's probably half hour max, if
Okay.
it works.
I'll try.
Okay,
All right.
Thank you.
Are we,
I think that's it,
Okay.
unless there's any questions.
anybody got any questions for Barry? All right, thanks. Really, I guess there's no old business. So we'll move on to new business, which basically is the water bill relief.
Yeah, and, we looked at that,
Refund.
and what happened is that, Trevor Garlock, his tenant paid the water bill, and he paid the water bill, and he'd like a refund, and we don't do that. In the past, what we've done is if they want a refund, he has to have his tenant reimburse him. That's the way we do it.
Okay.
So I will,
Tenant's paying twice.
Yeah, but that's what I was just gonna say, how'd that work out? The
Well, somehow-
tenant paid the village and Trevor paid the village,
right, so somehow they have to work it out. We don't get into that at all.
but they still paid the bill twice.
Right. So somebody, between the two of them, they work out who pays or doesn't pay the next bill.
Right, that sounds more like it, who
Yeah.
doesn't pay the next bill or.
That's up to them,
Right.
but we don't give refunds on that kind of thing.
Okay, but shouldn't they have known the bill was already paid? I mean, if they came in to pay the bill, shouldn't the
I think
office?
I think
One
they,
got paid by card and one got paid.
one
They
paid by
got
card.
paid two different ways.
No, but they didn't check.
Oh, okay.
Did you make them aware that they have to work it out?
No, I needed to discuss it here first, and then we will tomorrow.
Okay.
I mean, this has come up before, and that's what we've done.
Okay,
Okay.
all right. Let's see what else we got here. Oh, McSherry, right?
Good
Yep.
job, I'll see you around.
Thank you very much.
Is that pavement?
I'll read this here.
By my house?
Hi, Sandy and Erica. Since the last day of school has changed, we, McSherry Library, have moved our summer reading kickoff party to Friday, June 27th from 10 to noon. We're hoping for nice weather so we can have events outside. To date, we have 3 different readers and people in character outfits: magnetic fishing game, bean toss. Cornell Cooperative Extension Nutrition is doing a food demonstration. Temporary tattoo station, popcorn, freeze pops, registration table. If it all goes as planned, we'll also have a face painter and balloon artist. To keep the attendees safe, since most will be children, we would like to ask if we could have people park in your back lot with an understanding that the helicopters call will have people move their vehicles. Also, we'd like to be allowed to have some of the stations in the grass area across from the library where the community garden used to be. If there's a form to complete for a request or something else, please, for your time and thinking and consideration. Basically, they want to use the back parking lot of the grass. I have no problem with it.
No, me neither. No.
We're good to go, so.
Okay, we'll let them know.
Hearts of Youth, Mayor Putnam, the Village of Trustees from the Hearts of Youth, Caitlin Charbonneau, Office Manager. Use of the village pickleball courts. Hearts of Youth would like to thank the village board for the use of the pickleball courts during the summer of 2024 for our youth pickleball program. Our partnership has provided youth in the community the opportunity to learn and participate in the game of pickleball. Hearts for Youth would like to request to continue the partnership during the summer of 2025. We're requesting the use of the pickleball court starting on Thursday, 7/17 from 10 to 11, and the last Thursday will be August 28, 2025. We at the Hearts of Youth thank the Alexandria Village Board for your consideration in this request. So they wanted the pickleballs every Thursday, is that the way I understand this? Every month?
They did it, they did it last year, did they?
Yeah.
Could be nasty, them young kids fighting with them old timers about the pickleball court.
Might not be good up there.
I think we need to have the new pickleball courts done, and they can play.
Yeah, we need to get them done.
We're gonna work on that, so I can't tell them no.
No.
I'd say let's just let them,
It's fine.
1 hour, they can, that's fine, tell them that we're good with it. What else? We already did the fireworks, Hearts of Youth, so that's all done, correct? I don't think there's any more.
I don't think there's anything else. In mine, the other thing that I forgot to tell you is that on the 24th of June, Erica and Sarah are going to Syracuse to take the notary test.
And no more public concerns, I guess we've covered all that.
I don't have anything.
Mike, I just want to mention 2 more things. One is,
You're out of order. Well, go ahead.
I get 2 things.
I want to make sure that we take a look at the valves on Rock Street. I don't want to end up in another situation, not knowing how long this project's gonna last. I don't know,
Replacing it, you mean, or having it?
putting 2 new valves in, I'm not quite sure where we want to take a stance on this. You guys know that the split was lengthways. It wasn't, it's gonna go. So I'm not saying that, I need all of you guys to, as a group, just to think, what should we do? Should we cross our fingers and hope? I'm not quite sure.
Is it?
It's not gonna be quick enough.
I know, Greg, but again,
It's not gonna be quick enough, winter's coming.
and I'm worried about it.
Wait, what's not gonna be quick enough? Replacement of the line?
Not
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, that's not,
So you need the valve so you can shut it off.
We need
So-
1 on each end. I mean,
Is there anybody still doing main stopping? There's still main stopping.
Live tap or?
Live taps, let's do live main taps, just like we did down in
And that
front
was
of.
6.
Like an
We
insertion
did-
valve?
Yeah, we did it right in front of Critters House.
And I know what money's,
I put a 10-inch down there.
I'd like to look at it, figure something out,
Let's do them both.
just in case.
Let's do both.
Do them both.
Yeah.
Figure it in.
Okay,
They're gonna come, do them both.
okay.
Isn't
And
that
then, what they do is put a plug in and just insert a valve right in.
Just real quick, the biggest thing that I have is garbage blowing around the village streets and everything. So it's really quick, and I'd like for this to be put on the website. I know everybody says website, maybe a copy can be given to the paper. In all actuality, even from May 1st to October 15th, any garbage, rubbish, or refuse in any matter whatsoever after 4 p.m. of any day during said period. So even on garbage day, between May 1st and October 15th, after 4, it's supposed to be off the street.
But what's
Period.
happened too, and we have nobody controls anything.
Yeah,
Nobody's putting it in garbage cans again.
So-
It's just thrown out there again. There's
This
plastic
is
bags
another
of
one.
garbage everywhere.
And-
Although I ran
I went down
around
the
this
street this
morning,
morning,
the
the
birds
crows
were
were
in
in
it and everybody was in it.
so
It's gotta be
section
in a
C,
covered trash can, that's part of the
And
law.
it
Section
has to be
C.
put out the night before, and the
Suitable-
cans removed before.
suitable
not
container
there after
properly
all
sealed or
week.
covered so that no garbage, rubbish, or refuge will be strewn upon the streets or sidewalks. That's in it.
The crows-
No such garbage,
Crows
rubbish, or
are-
refuge shall be placed for pickup curbside on any day other than the designated pickup day.
And it's not until after a certain time, isn't it?
So, then
Like
it goes to
after-
recyclables.
we
Recyclables
post
are not supposed to be played outside for
Paper or
pickup
something,
prior
I
to
don't know.
7 p.m. the night before
Right.
of it. So there is,
Garbage can do the same thing.
there's,
It's there, we gotta.
it's there, it's just, we gotta figure a way to start
Get it across.
enforcing it. If I've gotta put these on trash cans, something,
So can we,
you know, this goes right along with the skunks and everything else.
can we run around like a couple Tuesday mornings and write down an address and send somebody a letter
You
and
give
say,
us-
if it's not in a covered can, we're not, cause I'm telling you, it was a mess
It was-
Tuesday.
Well,
The crows got
the
in
cans
there.
were getting bigger
Down on
and
High
bigger.
Street, the crows, there was 3 crows in that trash can, and they tipped it over.
But nobody's putting it in covered cans anymore, they're
That's
just
all
throwing
mine.
bags up on top.
Yeah, that's what it was, and they tipped the can over, there was 3 crows in it.
Buy another trash
Or
can
just as bad.
in a cover.
So,
But I don't put mine out until 7:30 in the morning.
Well,
right
we
before
don't put
work.
ours out till later in the day, but I know my guys put out
I'll tell my wife not
cans
to
with
put it
that
out
lid,
so
so.
we're-
I did
I'm
too,
just,
I
like I
know.
said, I'm just
We're
saying,
gonna be
if
buying
you could
some
just,
new
People gotta
trash
use
cans.
it, I
just
mean,
keep
it's a
time
mess.
it down a little.
Can I get a copy of that?
Absolutely, I'll give you this one, I got more on my own.
Probably right there, Sam's thing right there.
I mean, you can post that, you post it in the paper.
Yeah.
I think it should be
Anything else,
posted in the
Jared?
paper.
Yeah,
I do.
I think so too.
Yeah, I do too.
Anything else you wanna bring up?
No,
Yeah.
that's it.
Yeah.
Cause I got neighbors that put it out a day before.
Well, we got people on our street leaving trash cans out all week too. I don't like that either.
Ridiculous. And then the wind comes up and all this shit going up the road.
It's everywhere.
One personal note, I want to thank Judy for going down and talking to the health department, or health people down there. I kind of shirked my duties on that one, and gave the key to the village up, I just wanted to say thank
Oh,
you for that.
Nahima at 7:30 on a Monday morning at Bonnie Castle.
I just wanted to thank you for it.
You're welcome.
You down give the beer opener?
Key to the village.
Key to the village. The joke is that one of the ladies in the office, I think it was Sarah, was straightening up the back room, and in the back in the closet, she found these little boxes that had a key in it, literally key to the village. And we were talking about this group that, I think there were 150, 200 at 4 days over at Bonnie Castle, so the group goes all over, they wanted, you know, a key to the village and, you know, the whereases and all this other stuff, so we gave it to them, but we took the bottom of the nice little box out that it came in, because it said on there that the key to the village was a beer bottle opener. I'm like, I put nice little paper in there, tissue paper, they loved it.
We got them donated.
Well, we have 5 or 6, we might have 4 or 5 more of those if we need to do
I
it
did
again.
that for my
I just wanted to
But
thank you for
somebody
doing my
else
duty
gets
for
the
me when I
next
said,
one.
oh, no, I'm not.
Oh, no, Judy needs to do this one. That's fine.
Alright, are we good?
Yeah.
Motion, what do we got here?
I'd like executive session to discuss an employee matter with Mr. Burrows. 5 minutes, I'll keep it short, I promise.
Okay.
Okay.
Well, I may have one too. unless we're talking the same thing.
Okay.
Thank you.
The motion.
Second.
Oh, I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you.
So we're,
Thank you, everybody.
we're gonna have to come out and adjourn the meeting.
The police, interim police chief's name,
Marco?
Marco, like M-A-R-C-O.
Yeah.
So don't anybody fall on that water.
I don't have to tell you. Also, I'll tell you, my husband and I parked kind of near Homestead for brunch Sunday, and we looked at that photo booth, and we're like, oh, it looks like it's a local carnival. The same word he used. She went to Clayton Live, and they allow it on the street and everything, but Clayton turned down.
Well, she never applied for a permit or nothing.
Yeah, see,
I'm the one who told Jarrett to put the park bench, so he couldn't get into it. And they moved it, so I told Jarrett, I said.
Yeah, don't put that in the paper.
Yeah, don't put that in the paper, but I really don't care if you do or not.
no, I really,
But
the motion you made, I was just like a little confused with Gregor. Did you accept those bids, or you just made a motion?
upon, him reviewing the contract, which will probably be fine. I mean,
I'll just say that you reviewed them and preliminarily accepted them.
for the water tower and the electrical, we'll hook it up.
All right, that's good, thank you.
Okay.
And we're told for the green styrofoam to come out.
Did you tell him?
I told Jared, I did it a different way, I said, I'll go talk to Jared, and I talked to Jared this morning, I had another talk with him, and Pat today, he told Pat, Earl, you and Kevin will not be down to the big guys, working on that, pick up anything, to get the meters in. Greg says, the meter, no more than 35 a month. There's no reason
That's part of that.
they can't get 56.
So then she goes.
Which they could, if they try. But I don't care if they don't, if they have other problems, and they don't get them in, but I said, I want a piece of paper that tells me if you get something else. If you're not getting them in, I wanna know what you did.
Good point.
And so, and I said, and I want that piece of green styrofoam out of that window.
The problem is Pat doesn't want to talk to Greg. So we're
It's
gonna
okay. We'll play this,
Well, being the trustee, you should be the first one contacted besides Gary, and what's going on. What's that?
well, I'll play this way for a little bit, and then I'll go the other way. I got it way before you did. I got it before you
Older and
I've never heard of
And the problem, I tell you what, when I call all them places to do what they want, them guys are all nothing.
Huh?
Yeah, you haven't never heard of that?
I have never heard of prom
You haven't,
backwards
really?
is more.
You know who did it?
Yeah.
First year was my daughter, my youngest daughter.
I've never heard of it before.
Yeah, they put it backwards,
No?
changed it to more, MORP, in 7th and 8th grade.
Okay, I am going to turn this off now, for a minute.
What did you do, Jim?